Now, that's not sort of like what debridement is. That is exactly what debridement is. So basically, we break up where we remove 99.9% of the bacterial cells, but we leave those fragments reattach to the surface of the infection site. They grow, they coalesce, and within 24 hours, they grow, they skin around themselves, and then they're impervious to our treating agents, our antibiotics, our biocides that we put on there. So that's a good demonstration. That's a good take home. And remember that. That's a good hook. So remember just exactly the way biofilm acts when we try to treat it. So the next video is how we get around that. So once we debride, what we're doing is we're putting on multiple different things at the same time, so that as that glue tries to coalesce on that biofilm again, we're killing the individual cells that do that. So we're going to show you video over number 21 now. This is Dr. Randy Wolfhound, and this is a video on debridement. Debridement is the foundational principle of biofilm-based wound care, in that debridement allows all our other treatment strategies to be so much more successful. We want to first alter the anatomy of the wound. What that means is we want to remove any surfaces that touch. That means removing tunnels and cracks and undermining, because surfaces that touch favor the biofilm over the host. This will open up surfaces that have degraded tissue. We want to remove anything that's soft and friable. Anything that's hard and cannot support angiogenesis. It's hard to remove too much tissue, so be aggressive. Next, we want to manage the surface. Now, this can be done with a curette or other instruments, ultrasound, negative pressure therapy, maggots, but all of them have the goal of trying to degrade the biofilm and disrupt its structure. This forces the biofilm to reconstitute itself, and while it's regrowing, it's vulnerable to our other treatments. Now look what we've accomplished. This is a healing wound. Clearly there's some new angiogenesis in this part of the texture, there's contraction of the wound edges, and you can see that there's material that's moved up around the great toe. This is connective tissue and fragments of bone, and they did not grow there. What's happened is we've suppressed the biofilm to a point where host healing mechanisms such as neutrophils, macrophages, myofibroblasts can do their job. They can lyse the tissue and move it up to the top. Now a week later we come back, and there's another fragment of bone, there's other tissue, and that's because there's an attacked host healing mechanism. Bacteria possess multiple molecular mechanisms to suppress wound healing. When we suppress the wound biofilm adequately, then host healing reemerges. The neutrophils, the fibroblasts, endothelial cells start working again. So now we have a wound bed with suppressed biofilm and active host healing parameters. This is a well-prepared wound bed that's now ready for cell-based therapy to get full wound closure. Welcome back. So that is biofilm-based wound care in a nutshell. So what we'll do is, so just want to show a few cases real quick to wrap up and what this means, okay? So anywhere in the country right now, if you go into to the ER, you see your orthopedic surgeon, somebody has a structural foot with osteo, there's an automatic amputation. But during the chronic infection, called the chronic wound, and called the osteomyelitis, the patient heals up in 16 weeks and goes on and keeps his foot. And the durability is just as good as if he'd never had that wound before. This is bone and tendon infection in a diabetic. It was bad. This patient also was told he needed an amputation, but within 12 weeks, it heals up because we managed the chronic infection. Here's a non-healing surgical wound. And this healed up in 17 weeks. Again, tendon deep structures were involved, and by managing the chronic infection was healed. All these patients were being seen at the same time here. We had about 15 of these kind of cases going on concurrently. So it is common, and the outcomes of being able to diagnose what the microbiota is, formulate treatment, treating agents that directly attack those microbes that we identified, lead to this kind of behavior. So I want to illustrate that with this one last patient, because this is his score. Alan is not this guy's name. This is a concrete worker, got some concrete on the top of his foot. He's a type 1 diabetic from early childhood, very neuropathic. He is a sacrocolus, much like that guy's foot that we saw earlier. He's got series of osteomyelitis. When they drain the foot, they see the bone is infected and so much squishy, and so when they wake him up and they say, your leg has to come off. Well, he's a construction worker. He uses construction language and says, no, thank you. He leaves AMA, comes to our clinic. We treat him that day. We do that biofilm-based wound care. We do the debridement. We get our molecular, our DNA-based microbial diagnostics. We start him on an empiric, multiple concurrent different agents empirically, and he's starting to be better. About 2 to 3 days later, the orthopedic doctor calls me and he says, this guy's going to die. And his death is on your head, and I'm going to make life miserable for you, and I'm going to get your license. So a lot of these things, a lot of that construction language. But at the end of the day, we knew that was a chronic infection. And a patient could have good perfusion of his foot, so I mean, I was not that worried about it. Kind of worried about it when there's stress involved. But 4 weeks later, it looks like that. And that's what we're talking about. If a chronic wound is caused, if a chronic infection is caused by biofilm, then if you collapse the biofilm, why wouldn't the wound act like an acute wound? So this is 4 weeks later. Let's look at the dates here. 7/29/09 to 8/26, not quite a month. And there's 98% not a field. It's still like an acute wound because that's the holy grail. You can convert a chronic wound to an acute wound. It should heal like an acute wound. Then 4 weeks later, it's almost healed. They can go back to work at 8 weeks, and we released him at 12 weeks. And that is what we're talking about. That is what is the outcomes can change based on the ability to diagnose and adequately treat the cause of the chronic wound, which is the microbiome. So here's the biofilm surprise. So there are 2 ways that bacteria infect. There's the myconic that causes acute infection, and then there's the biofilm that causes the chronic infections. And chronic infections cause more deaths than cancer and heart disease combined. So it is a big deal. Diagnose and treat. Most wound care is done by trial and error. And what we're talking about is with a diagnostic test to be able to target the cause of the chronic wound, we can treat effectively to get better outcomes. So remember this, chronic infections require, you cannot, the clinical cultures fail, so they require molecular analytic methods, whether that's DNA-based, whether that's protein-based, whatever tools you're using, we will identify microbes and their activities with molecular methods going forward and not with the 100-year-old technologies. The reason for that is that biofilm is microbial. It's viable, but it's not culturable. It does not culture under routine conditions. And then there's so many different bacteria in there that require different growth requirements that a single clinical culture is not viable. You have to do a ton of them, and you would know which ones, which media, and which environments to choose. So because of that, the ability to quantitate molecular methods will take over. So that's biofilm surprise. The nurses taught me how to do my wound care. She said that slough is like a bunny in the garden. You can take it off, you can leave it, but it's not. It's the biofilm. It is the chronic infection. It's the cause. And we now have the tool to see what it is. And hopefully now we've provided some context to understand what that microbiome is. So thank you for your attention, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you for that informative presentation, Dr. Wilcott. Before we get started on the question and answer session, I would like to remind our audience how to submit questions. You can submit questions by typing them in the Q&A box, which can be found by clicking on the green Q&A button at the lower left of the presentation window. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. And our first question is, why do wound care specialists have to debride chronic wounds? Doesn't that just make them bigger?
Well, that is a good question, and a lot of patients have concern about that. I'd say 2 things. Number one, when we biopsy wounds, those biopsy sites, whether we go through the wound or we go across the margin of the wound, those pieces that we take out to send off for pathology or to identify bacteria heal up on these. They come right back to where the diffusion zone of the microbiome is. So if you take out too much tissue, it comes right back to where the chronic wound was. Even in 9-year-old diabetics, it will go right back up to the surface in a very brief period of time. So you can make it bigger. So what I tell patients is it's like unpacking a suitcase. The damage is done. The material is there that is not stuff anymore. It's dead tissue. It's bacteria. It's plasma. It's stuff that can never help the wound. And we're not making the defect bigger. It's like opening the suitcase and cleaning it out. It didn't make the suitcase bigger. Okay, it just opens up the area. So no, the debridement is critical because it takes away the most important defense mechanism that the biofilm has. So we have to do that. And then the second thing is you can't take off too much because the host will heal if you go too far. The wound will heal, the tissue will heal right back up to the wound. So that's a very good question.
Okay, for our next question, why is it that molecular methods for identification of microorganisms is not generally used, and people still use clinical cultures?
I get that question all the time. Okay, there's 2 big barriers. Well, I guess there's a third barrier. The biggest thing is most people don't know about it. They don't know how to order the test. They don't know where to go and stuff like that. But they have access to molecular tests. If they get the results back, like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, you get 6, 7, 8 different things that's in your chronic infection, and then it's like, what do I do with them? And you're not liable to treat all those things. Which one's the toughest? Okay, bottom line is we don't know. We do know it's a community. We don't know which constituents of the community causes the damage to the host, but we're assuming that they all play a part, so we treat them all. It's easier than what we say, but it's really that they get too much information and it's kind of overwhelming at first when you start to use it. There's other barriers to acceptance. The traditions, the familiarities with sensitivities and stuff like that. And molecular is not hard to tell you what the bacteria is sensitive to, but biofilms and antibacteria require anywhere from 250 to 1,000 times the MIC that you find when you clean out a myconic bacteria. So At the end of the day, sensitivities don't really help us that much in chronic infections where we can't get past those biases very easily. So it's the lack of sensitivities and it's the overwhelming amount of information that clinicians are unfamiliar with that kind of is a barrier to acceptance. At the end of the day, that's where it just has to molecular more specific, it's more sensitive, and it tells us what to avoid. And then we have to figure out what's important, but it definitely improves our outcomes. So the change will take place, but those are important variables. That's a good question. Any other questions?
Okay, we have another question. What makes biofilm infections so tolerant to treatment and so difficult to cure?
Okay, so now we're back into my wheelhouse, and I like that. I like that a lot. Biofilm antibacteria express a third of their genome different from cytonic bacteria. So it really is a caterpillar butterfly. They're radically different. And just that genetic expression makes them more resistant to most antibiotics that is single cell form. The gene expression will allow to kill that bacteria. But then there's multiple differences that biofilm has. It has the matrix around itself that blocks diffusion of certain antimicrobials. It has different metabolic states within the biofilm. And what's something when there's no metabolism, antibiotics can't move the machine if the machine is not working. So there's just a lot of, there's biofilm defenses, there's biofilm gene expression, there's a lot of reasons why antimicrobials won't work in chronic wounds and other chronic infections. But at the end of the day, we can force